Hello, and welcome back to Speak English Daily.
Hi, everyone. We are very happy to see you here today.
Hello, everyone. If this is your first time with us, we're really glad you're here. And if you've been listening for a while, welcome back. Before we start, take a second to subscribe to the channel and like this episode, because it really helps us reach more English learners who need calm, real conversations like this.
Yes, thank you for being here with us today. We know your time matters, and we appreciate that you chose to spend a part of your day listening and practicing English with us.
So, Mike, before we jump into anything serious, how are you doing today? And I mean really doing, not the short, polite answer we usually give.
Honestly, I'm a bit mixed today. Part of me feels fine, but another part of me still feels a little tense from something that happened this morning.
Oh, that already sounds like something many people can relate to. What happened?
I had to attend a work event early in the morning. You know the type. A room full of people, most of them already talking to each other, and you're supposed to walk in and just join.
I'm already feeling that in my shoulders just hearing about it.
Yeah, I walked in holding my coffee, trying to look calm, but inside I could feel my body reacting. My hands weren't steady, and I kept thinking, okay, just breathe, just stand here for a moment.
That moment where you're standing there, pretending to look around casually, but inside your mind is very loud.
That's a perfect way to describe it. My mind was racing, but my body felt frozen at the same time.
That sounds really uncomfortable. And for our listeners, uncomfortable means you don't feel relaxed or at ease. Your body feels tight and your thoughts feel heavy.
Yes, uncomfortable is the right word. My heart was beating fast and I kept worrying that someone would notice how nervous I felt.
I think many of our listeners know that feeling very well, even if they've never talked about it out loud.
You think so?
I really do. And that's actually why today's topic matters so much. Today, we're going to talk about social anxiety, how it feels, and how to talk about these feelings in simple, clear English.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too. And remember, you don't need to understand everything perfectly. Just listening and being here is already a step forward.
That takes some pressure off.
Good. That's what we want. So, Mike, earlier you described feeling nervous at that event, and I think this is a good moment to slow down and really talk about something important, because many people wonder whether what they feel is just normal nervousness or something deeper.
Yeah, I've asked myself that question a lot. Sometimes I think maybe everyone feels this way, and other times I wonder why it feels so intense for me.
That confusion is very common. Feeling nervous is a normal human response. It happens when we're doing something new or when something matters to us.
Like giving a presentation or meeting someone for the first time.
Exactly. In those situations, your body reacts, but you can usually still do the thing, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Right. You might feel nervous, but you still show up.
Yes. Social anxiety is different, not because the feeling is completely new, but because the feeling is stronger and lasts longer, and most importantly, it can stop you from doing things you want or need to do.
That's the part that really hits home for me, the stopping part.
And I want to be very gentle when we talk about this, because social anxiety isn't a personal failure. It's not about being weak or shy.
I'm glad you said that because a lot of people blame themselves.
They do. So let's use an example. Imagine you're invited to a small party. If you feel nervous but still go, talk to a few people, and leave feeling tired but proud, that's normal nervousness.
Even if it felt awkward.
Yes, even if it felt awkward. Awkward means uncomfortable and a little embarrassing, like when you don't know what to say and there's a pause.
I know that pause very well.
Now, if you feel so anxious about that same party that you decide not to go at all, or you cancel at the last minute every time, that might be social anxiety.
So the difference is not the feeling itself, but how much power it has over your choices.
That's a really good way to put it. When anxiety controls your behavior, it becomes heavier.
I can think of times when I avoided events for weeks just because I didn't want to feel that way again.
Avoid is an important word here. Avoid means you stay away from something because it feels too uncomfortable or overwhelming.
And at first, avoiding feels like relief.
Yes, it feels safer in the moment, but over time, it can make your world feel smaller.
That's true. You miss things, even things you actually want to do.
And this is something many people don't talk about, because from the outside, it can look like you're just being quiet or private.
Or unfriendly.
Or uninterested, when inside you're actually trying very hard.
That misunderstanding hurts sometimes.
It really does. And social anxiety doesn't look the same for everyone, which is another reason it's hard to explain.
What do you mean?
Some people feel anxious only in very specific situations. For example, they're fine talking to friends, but public speaking feels terrifying.
Like standing in front of a group?
Yes. Other people can speak in front of a group, but they feel anxious during small talk.
Small talk is one of the hardest things for me.
Small talk is casual conversation, like talking about the weather, work, or your weekend. It sounds simple, but it can feel very hard.
It feels like there's pressure to say the right thing, even though nothing serious is being discussed.
And when the conversation stops for a moment, that silence can feel very loud.
That silence makes me feel like everyone is waiting for me.
That's such an honest description. And for someone with social anxiety, that silence can trigger a lot of thoughts very quickly.
Thoughts like, they think I'm boring, or I sound strange.
Exactly. Those thoughts can come fast and feel very real, even if they're not true.
I wish people talked about that more.
Me too. Because when you hear someone else describe it, you realize you're not imagining things.
It's comforting to know that these patterns are shared.
And that's something I want to remind our listeners. If you experience this, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means your nervous system is reacting strongly to social situations.
Hearing it explained like that feels less personal in a good way.
That's the goal, to take away some of the shame and replace it with understanding.
And understanding makes it easier to talk about.
Yes, and that's why learning the language to describe these feelings matters, especially in English, when expressing emotions can already feel challenging.
I can imagine listeners thinking, I feel this way, but I don't know how to say it.
And we're going to help with that. But first, it's important to recognize what you're feeling and to know that it exists on a spectrum.
Meaning some days are harder than others.
Exactly. Some days you might feel okay, and other days even small interactions feel heavy.
That's very real.
And if you're listening and thinking, this sounds familiar, please know that you're not alone, and you don't have to figure this out all at once.
Just understanding the difference between nervousness and social anxiety is already a step.
A meaningful step. And from here, we can start talking about how social anxiety shows up in daily life and how the body reacts when it happens.
I think that will help a lot of people connect the dots.
I agree. So now that we've talked about what social anxiety is and how it can be different from normal nervousness, I think it's really important to talk about where it shows up. Because for many people, it doesn't appear everywhere, only in certain moments.
That's true for me. There are situations where I feel almost fine, and then there are others where my body reacts before I even have time to think.
And that reaction can feel surprising, especially when you don't expect it.
Yes, like phone calls. I never think of myself as someone who's afraid of talking, but when my phone rings and I don't know who's calling, my heart starts racing.
Phone calls are a big one for many people. You can't see the other person's face, so you don't know how they're reacting.
And there's no time to pause. You have to respond right away.
That pressure can feel intense, and for someone with social anxiety, that pressure can make even a simple call feel overwhelming.
I've noticed that I sometimes let calls go to voicemail even when I know I should answer.
And afterward, how do you feel?
A bit relieved at first, but then disappointed in myself later.
That mix of relief and disappointment is very common, and it can be exhausting to go through that cycle again and again.
It really is. Another situation that's hard for me is eating in front of other people, especially people I don't know well.
That's something many people don't expect, but it's very real. Eating is such a basic thing, but when others are watching, it can feel different.
I become very aware of how I'm holding my fork, how I'm chewing, whether I'm making noise.
That's being self-conscious. Self-conscious means you're very aware of yourself and worried about how others see you.
And once that starts, it's hard to enjoy the food.
It takes the joy out of the moment and replaces it with tension.
Yes. And then I start thinking, why am I like this?
That question comes up for a lot of people, but it's important to pause there and remember that these reactions are not chosen.
That's hard to accept sometimes.
I know. And this is where understanding the body becomes really helpful, because social anxiety is not just in your thoughts, it shows up physically.
Very physically.
Earlier, you mentioned your heart beating fast. That's one of the most common signs.
It feels like my chest is very tight.
A fast heartbeat, a tight chest, sweaty palms, these are all signals from your body.
I also get this strange feeling in my stomach, like it's moving.
That's often called butterflies in your stomach. It describes a fluttery, nervous feeling that's hard to ignore.
It's a strange phrase, but it fits.
And for some people, their face gets hot or red. That's called blushing.
I blush very easily, and that makes me even more anxious because I worry people will notice.
That fear of being noticed can make the physical reaction feel stronger.
Sometimes my hands shake a little, especially if I'm holding something.
That's called trembling. It means shaking slightly, often without control.
When that happens, I feel like my body is betraying me.
That's a powerful word, and it shows how frustrating this can feel. But what's really happening is that your body is trying to protect you.
Protect me from what, though? There's no danger.
You're right, there's no real danger, but your body doesn't always know that. This reaction is part of something called the fight or flight response.
I've heard of that, but I never connected it to social situations.
Many people don't. Fight or flight is your body's way of preparing you to deal with danger, either by facing it or running away.
But at a meeting or a dinner, there's nothing to fight or run from.
True, but your nervous system reacts as if there is. It treats social judgment like a threat.
That explains why the reaction feels so strong and sudden.
Understanding this doesn't make the feeling disappear, but it can help you be kinder to yourself when it happens.
Instead of thinking, I'm weak, you can think, my body is reacting.
Yes, and that shift matters, because when you stop fighting the feeling, it often becomes a little easier to manage.
I wish someone had explained this earlier.
Many people say that, and that's why conversations like this are important, especially for language learners who may already feel exposed when speaking English.
That adds another layer of pressure.
It does. You're not only navigating social expectations, but another language.
That's a lot for anyone.
It is. And if you're listening right now and recognizing your own experiences in this conversation, please know that what you're feeling has a name, and it has a reason.
And you're not broken.
Not at all. You're human.
Hearing that helps more than I expected.
I'm glad. And next, I think it's time we give our listeners some words and phrases they can actually use to talk about these feelings. Because understanding is important, but being able to express yourself matters just as much.
I agree. There were so many times when I knew how I felt, but I didn't know how to put it into words, especially in English.
And when you can't express it, the feeling can grow even stronger inside.
Yes, it feels like everything stays trapped.
So let's start with something very simple and very powerful. The sentence, I feel nervous.
It sounds almost too simple.
It does, but simple doesn't mean weak. Saying I feel nervous is clear, honest, and natural.
And you can use it in many situations.
Exactly. You can add more detail if you want. For example, I feel nervous when I speak in front of people.
Or, I feel nervous about my job interview tomorrow.
Perfect. That structure is very useful. I feel nervous plus when or about.
That already makes it easier.
You can also say, I get nervous. That sounds a bit more casual.
So, I get nervous at big meetings.
Yes, or I get nervous when I have to make phone calls.
That one really speaks to me.
And if you want to talk about the situation itself, you can say, it makes me nervous.
Like, public speaking makes me nervous.
Exactly. Or meeting new people makes me uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable is a good word when you don't want to sound too strong.
Yes, it's softer but still honest. Now let's talk about the word anxious, because many people hear it but aren't sure how to use it.
I used to think it sounded very serious.
It can sound stronger than nervous, but it's very common in everyday English. You can say, I feel anxious about my presentation.
Or, I feel anxious in social situations.
Yes, anxious often suggests that the feeling lasts longer or feels more intense.
That makes sense.
You can also say, I have anxiety about something.
For example, I have anxiety about speaking English in public.
That's a very honest sentence, and many of our listeners might relate to it deeply.
Saying it out loud already feels like a small release.
It often does, and it's also okay to tell someone when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed is when everything feels like too much, right?
Yes, you feel like you can't manage all of it at once. You could say, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Can we take a short break?
That sounds polite and clear.
It is, and if you're with someone who cares about you, they will usually understand.
That's reassuring.
Now let's talk about what you can do in those moments, because words help, but actions help too.
I think listeners really need this part.
The first thing is breathing, and I know it sounds simple, but slow, deep breathing can calm your body.
When I remember to do it, it really helps.
When you breathe slowly, you're telling your nervous system that you're safe.
So your body doesn't feel like it needs to escape.
Exactly. Your heart rate slows down and your muscles relax a little.
What if someone feels anxious before an event?
That's where preparation can help. Think ahead about simple things you can say or ask.
Like preparing a few questions.
Yes, questions like, what do you do? Or how do you know the host? Are simple but effective.
Having something ready makes the situation feel less unpredictable.
And unpredictability often makes anxiety stronger.
That's true.
Another helpful idea is starting small. You don't have to jump into the most difficult situation right away.
Baby steps.
Yes, maybe you start by meeting one person for coffee, then slowly build up from there.
That feels more realistic than forcing yourself into a big event.
And one of the most important things, maybe the hardest, is being kind to yourself.
That's something I struggle with.
Many people do. Instead of criticizing yourself for feeling nervous, try speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a friend.
So instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" you say, "This is hard, but I'm trying."
Exactly. That shift in language can change how heavy the experience feels.
It feels gentler.
And gentleness matters when you're dealing with anxiety.
What about people whose anxiety really affects their daily life?
That's an important question. If anxiety is stopping you from working, studying, or connecting with others, it's a good idea to talk to a professional.
Like a therapist or counselor.
Yes, getting help is not a failure. It's a form of self-care.
And it takes courage.
It really does. And I also want to say something directly to our English learners.
I was hoping you would.
Feeling anxious about speaking English is very common. Making mistakes, not finding the right word, worrying about pronunciation, all of that can trigger anxiety.
I've felt that myself when learning another language.
And here's the truth. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They're part of learning.
Every fluent speaker made thousands of mistakes.
Yes, communication is more important than perfection. If someone understands you, you've succeeded.
That takes a lot of pressure off.
I hope so. And if you're listening right now, practicing English even while feeling nervous, that already shows strength.
You're doing something brave.
You really are. Before we finish today, I think it's a good idea to slow down for a moment and look back at what we've talked about, not in a rushed way, but calmly, so everything can settle.
I like that. It helps things feel complete.
So first, we talked about social anxiety and how it's more than just feeling a little nervous. It's when that nervous feeling becomes strong enough to affect what you do or avoid.
And we talked about how normal nervousness and social anxiety can feel similar, but the impact on your life is what really makes the difference.
We also shared real situations where people often feel anxious, like parties, meetings, phone calls, eating in front of others, and speaking in public.
And those moments where your body reacts before your mind has time to catch up.
Yes, we talked about the physical side of anxiety too. The fast heartbeat, sweaty palms, butterflies in your stomach, blushing, trembling.
And understanding that these reactions come from the body's fight or flight response, not from weakness.
That understanding can change how you talk to yourself in those moments.
We also gave listeners some simple and useful phrases they can use to talk about how they feel.
Phrases like, I feel nervous, I get nervous, it makes me uncomfortable, and I feel anxious about.
And we talked about saying when you feel overwhelmed and asking for a short break when you need it.
Then we shared some gentle strategies, taking deep breaths, preparing ahead of time, starting small, and being kind to yourself.
That part really stayed with me, the idea of speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would give a friend.
It's not easy, but it makes a difference over time.
We also talked about getting professional help when anxiety starts to seriously affect daily life.
Yes, there is no shame in asking for help. It's a strong and healthy choice.
And we talked directly to English learners about language anxiety.
Because learning a new language can make social anxiety feel stronger, especially when you're afraid of making mistakes.
But mistakes are part of learning, not something to be ashamed of.
If someone understands you, you've communicated successfully. That matters more than perfect grammar or pronunciation.
I hope our listeners really hear that.
I hope so too. And before we go, I want to ask our listeners a question because your experiences matter to us.
Yes, we'd really love to hear from you.
What social situations make you feel nervous or anxious?
And how do you deal with those feelings? What helps you, even a little?
You can write something simple like, I feel nervous when I meet new people, or I get anxious during job interviews.
And you can add what helps you, like deep breathing, preparing questions, or reminding yourself to be kind.
There's no right or wrong answer. Sharing is already a step.
We read your comments and we really appreciate hearing your stories.
And if this conversation felt helpful or comforting to you, please subscribe to Speak English Daily so you don't miss future episodes.
Give this episode a like if it connected with you and share it with someone who might need it.
Learning English doesn't have to be lonely. We're all learning together.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
Yes, thank you for being here, for listening, and for showing up for yourself.
Remember, it's okay to feel nervous. You're not alone in this.
Be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and keep practicing your English, one step at a time.
You're doing better than you think.
We'll see you next time on Speak English Daily.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye.